So we're getting right out of here. Exodus 20. And God spoke all these words. I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourselves an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and the fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you are to labor and do all your work, but on the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female slave, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder, shall not commit adultery, shall not steal, you shall not bear or give false witness against your neighbor, shall not covet your neighbor's house, shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, or his ox or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. And when the people saw the lightning, the thunder, and heard the trumpet, and saw the mountain and the smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance. They said to Moses, "Speak to us yourself, we'll listen, but do not have God speak to us, or we will die." Moses said to the people, "Don't be afraid. God has come to test you, prove you, so that the fear of God will keep you, the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning." The people remained at a distance while Moses approached the thick darkness where God was. All right. A little thunder and lightning would be good right about this time right here and now. I like to golf. One of the things I like about golf is the honor code that comes with golfing. The honor code in golf is something like this. If you find something on the course, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to somebody else. You turn it in at the pro shop. It goes back to the owner. If you're a golfer at all, or if you're not a golfer, maybe it helps to understand that each golf bag has like 14 clubs in it, and it's just highly likely that people leave them here or there, various places. If I come across a lost club, take it to the pro shop, I give it back, there's no reward, there's little thanks, it happens every day. You don't keep what doesn't belong to you. Maybe it's more like an owner's code as much as an honor code. It's give it back to the owner. Sometimes it's harder to do because you come across somebody's club and it's nicer than yours. And you're like, man, I would be so much better at golf if I kept this club and nobody would know about it. I could do this. No, code of honor. Belongs to somebody else, turn it back in, get it back to the person to whom it belongs. I found a ball marker once. A ball marker's what golfers will put on the ground, buy their ball, pick it up, clean their golf ball before they putt it. I found a ball marker once. It was made of gold, and it had a diamond in it. Like the way, I'm not like a jeweler or anything, but I figured that it probably would cost whatever an engagement ring would cost. This is a ball marker, and I found it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Most of us use quarters. If we're really rich, we use a toonie, like, big gold, diamonds. I'm like, man, this guy's flaunting his wealth. This is one of these guys that, like, he wouldn't even notice he's missing it. One of my ball markers. I'll just go get another one of those. I'm like, he's not going to miss this. I could buy a whole new set of clubs. I'll hawk this thing in. I'm going to get myself a whole new set of clubs. No. Code of honor. Belongs to someone else, so I turned it in. It belongs to the owner. One of my sons borrowed my clubs a few years back and lost a club. For someone who's OCD, this is a problem. Left it on a hole, checked back in with the pro shop, nobody turned it in. Checked it in, second time, three times he checked, nobody turned it back in. Some rotten scoundrel is out there right now, probably golfing right now. It's got my tailor-made pitching wedge in his bag, right? Because he didn't honor the code. Give it back. Doesn't belong to you. It belongs to me. You're watching online. It belongs to me. I'm looking at the 10 Commandments this week, and I'm thinking there's kind of an honor code to these. It's all about God and the people around you getting what belongs to them, maybe even getting it back. See, God gave these 10 Commandments to a freshly rescued slave nation, and they didn't know anything from nothing. And there they are, they're trying to understand their relationship with God and then with each other. So 4 of the commands have a direct connection with our relationship with the living God, and the other 6 have conversation about who we are, how our relationships work with each other. In each of the commands, it helps you to figure out what belongs to who, and then you get it to them. You're well on your way if you figure that piece out. Command number 1, let's just go through them. Have no other gods before me. God was and is clearly saying, your heart belongs to me. That's what he's saying in this command. I made you. I don't want to share you. I don't want to share your heart's deepest affection or attraction with anything else. No other gods. Your heart, God says, belongs to me. You shall make no idols for yourself. Idols have a way, they're like these things in our lives that are like, they start small, but then they get big. You need to make money, but then all of a sudden making money is the biggest thing. I got to make a big pile of money. Or maybe it's like staying fit. Staying fit is a good thing, but then it becomes the ultimate thing, and it's all about how you staying fit. Lots of different things. A little resentment turns into some kind of crippling, overwhelming paralysis, anger, appearance, idols. These are the kinds of things that can take over our lives, and God says, don't let it happen. What's really fascinating is kind of a scary piece, that with this commandment, it starts talking about your kids. Did you hear that part? Yeah, it's a little unsettling. Punishing the children to the 3rd and the 4th generations of those who hate me. I don't think that God hammers us for the mistakes that our parents made, but I do think, pay attention, if you're a parent, or going to be, I do think that when we have idols, we pass them on to our kids. They learn from us. Right? And it can go on for a few generations. What's beautiful is that God also then right after that says, hey, but for 1,000 generations, I bless those who love me and obey these commands. What that means, parents, kids of parents, is that you can turn things around. That whole thing about punishing and idols going on to the next generation, you can say, nope, stopping here with me, not going to happen again. You pass on to your kids. When you raise them with strong godly habits, you pass this on. And you bless your grandkids and your great-grands and generations that you may not ever meet in this life. Don't misuse the name of God. This is the 3rd one. Don't misuse the name of God. What are you saying when you're like, oh my God? What are you saying when you say Jesus Christ because you mash your thumb with a hammer? Like what are you saying? Like if you said, Andrew Allison, whack Andrew Allison, I could think you're blaming me. Right? That's what I would think. Maybe that's a habit that you picked up. Let me just encourage you out of that habit. You might want to reconsider, because God's name belongs to God. That's what he's saying here. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. God laid down a pattern of good work and good rest. Human beings are designed for that rhythm. Work is good, and so is rest. It makes space for God. There's a humility about obeying God on this. There's a humility of making sure that this Sabbath that belongs to God stays with him. It's like, I am not going to, for this day of the week, I'm not going to collect or get for myself. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to rest. I'm going to take my foot off the accelerator. Your Sabbath belongs to God. Honor your parents. Now, if you're a parent of little people, this one isn't for you, at least not for your little kids. This wasn't ever for kids. This is for adults. And for the record, 13, 14 plus year olds, yeah. Adulthood starts at 13, so you're on after that, right? Here it is. This is for adults. Honor your parents. You have to figure that out. How do I honor my mom, my dad? It certainly can't mean like my mom gets to call the shots. Even now that I'm married, you'll have to figure this out with your spouse. But it does mean learning to find language and a heart posture that gives honor to the people that raised you in their home. Your honor belongs to your Maya parents. It's true. The 6th command is don't commit murder. People's lives belong to them, right? Don't take it from them. The seventh is don't commit adultery. Your body belongs to your marriage partner. That's it. Even if you're not married, that body waits for that if it ever happens. Until you've given yourself before God to that person, until you're officially married, your body doesn't belong to your boyfriend or your girlfriend or even your fiance. God's super clear about this. Sex belongs in a marriage covenant there alone. You shall not steal. People's stuff belongs to them. Don't take it. You shall not give false witness about your neighbor. You know, this truth is essential for a healthy community. This only works when there's truth. Don't say stuff that isn't true. Don't say stuff that makes you look good or makes your neighbor look bad. Truth belongs in community. Lies do not. And then finally, do not covet. You shall not covet. I always thought that God had 9 good commands and then had to round it up to 10 and did this lame-o covet thing. Seriously, when I was a teenager. And then I became an adult and I'm like, oh, this is a zinger. This one goes into the matters of the heart. I can sin without even lifting a finger, just by thinking about it, just by wanting something that belongs to somebody else. My imagination and my thoughts, they belong to God. Okay, so you're my friends, right? How we doing? How you doing? You scoring yourself out of 10? What's your scoring point? You never say it out loud, you're a bunch of Presbyterians, but what would your number be here? What's fascinating is that when Jesus came in person, he did 3 things with these commands. The first thing is he brought them into focus. You can check this out in Matthew 5 if you want to take a look at it. But it turns out that God actually isn't just interested in us not killing each other. That's actually not the full win. God actually has a plan for us and not hating each other at all. Even the guy who rides too close to my rear bumper in traffic, even that person. Jesus said to call somebody an idiot means to put yourself under the same judgment as a murderer. God insists that we learn how to love each other, even our enemies. Our love for each other belongs to God. God's heart wasn't just that we would stay out of bed with people that we're not married to, but that we wouldn't even go there in our heads. Jesus said that daydreaming about having an affair was to put yourself into the same category of judgment of those who have an affair. He insists that we learn how to enjoy and respect each other, celebrate each other, guard each other's marriages, guard our own marriages, not use each other for our own advantage, take advantage. No, our respect for each other belongs to God. Okay, now how are you scoring yourself? I'm a solid 0 out of 10, solid. Right, like I am the dirt ball driving around with God's pitching wedge in my golf bag because I have things that belong to God. You're with me on that? Jesus' focus doesn't take the pressure off this, it actually ratchets it up. Thankfully, Jesus did a second thing. He fulfills these. At least once in his ministry, we have it recorded in Matthew 5 as Jesus says these words, don't think that I've come to abolish the law. I'm not here to say, hey, you guys don't have to worry about that anymore. He said, I've come to fulfill it, right? He's not saying you can forget about the commands. He's come to make sure they get done for us. He did them for us. They're fulfilled. It's like somebody, comes along and pays for the tab for your dinner, or maybe more to the point, pays off a mortgage that you had no business ever getting into. You foolishly got into it, could not pay it. And God says, I got this for you. Jesus fulfills them for us. He focuses them and he fulfills the commands. And then I'm going to say this way, he fuels them. See, we're still intended, we're still called to live like this and better. And Jesus has made it possible by putting his Spirit into us. We're no longer people trembling at the bottom of the mountain. It's not going to work for us. We know it's not going to work, right? There's this great line that Moses has when everybody is trembling at the bottom of the mountain. They see the lightning and they hear the thunder and they're like, you can speak to us, Moses, but don't let God talk to us because we're all going to die. They knew it wasn't going to work. Moses knew his people. He'd been like three weeks deep with them. He knew this wasn't going to work. They couldn't handle the 10 commandments, let alone the 603 commandments that were going to follow them. Everybody knew this plan was going to fail. They needed grace. We need grace. I need grace. So in verse 20, Moses said to the people, don't be afraid. Did you read this one? It's kind of a bit confusing. Don't be afraid. God has come to test you so that the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning. It's do not be afraid in the Hebrew apparently is like this really strong, I'm not really an English guy, Brad Weber, forgive me, but it's an imperative. It's an imperative. And it sounds like this: under no circumstances are you to be afraid ever. It's like that, don't be afraid. But it looks like it's saying, don't be afraid of the lightning and the thunder. You're gonna be so terrified by God, you're never gonna wanna sin. That's like scared straight. Like, that's actually not what it means. Fear of God in the Hebrew, apparently tough phrase to translate. I was reading up on it. They can't find a good phrase for it in English. They can't find a good phrase for it in German. One guy tried something in Latin. It doesn't mean what it looks like if you add up all the independent words, fear of God, in the dictionary, so you're gonna be terrified of God. That's not actually what it is. But it means that more like this, that God is gonna put something in you, something awesome and holy that will begin to change your heart. And that will keep you from sinning and make you want to do all the good stuff. Do you see how this points to Jesus? Right? Focus, fulfill, fuel. It points to the fact that Jesus has promised to fill you with his Spirit and cause you to not actually be interested in the junk anymore and be really interested in the good stuff that he's talked about and that he did. The fear of God will be with you. Here it is. I'm just gonna put it straight up. This isn't on me, it's on Jesus. If you believe in the Lord Jesus, he promises to fill you with his Spirit and change you from the inside out. If you came to church and you heard those 10 commandments and you're like, I am never gonna, this is exactly why I don't go to church. They read out all these rules. I'm never gonna keep them. I'm going home. I'm done with this. You missed it. If you came to church and you hear me speak and you're all beat up, you're missing it. Because Jesus says, I know you can't do it by yourself. And I will be with you. I will change you from the inside out. This is not a moment for shame. This is not a moment for guilt. This is a moment for grace and for life. The fear of God will be with you. Change your life. Just last week, a guy pulled me aside and he says these words to me: I need to go to dark places. And I'm like, uh-oh. He's depressed or he's looking at porn. Something's going on. I'm like, dude, what do you mean? He says, hey, it's important I go to church and it's important that I keep going to small group. And this good news isn't supposed to sit indoors and stay comfortable with us. There's people on my job site who are homeless, who are hungry, and who are hooked on drugs, and they need to hear this. And I need to go to them. That sounds like Jesus. That sounds like exactly this. This is exactly what it looks like when the living, life-giving fear of God sets up camp in those who belong to him.